I need more time to figure out how I feel about it, really.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Anyway, we're
I think that is probably going to be the difference between. Say, I mean, you say is that this was far more of a story game in terms of characters. Obviously, I think the thing is it was so focused on Pollon and Momo that like outside of that, sure, there's people there, from that sort of way, which is all
yeah.
very much needed for the story to happen. But I say I think it was a much stronger or focused, yeah, on the story. Um, so I imagine I'm going probably to come out of this thinking more highly of it than you will, you know,
Yeah,
because yeah,
because like I said, I was totally with it up until Asuma became a god, and I was like, okay, now come on, like, what are we doing?
hmm but that's probably the difference is that I wasn't really lost at that point, and I could tell. Right, I could tell you were losing it, but I was like, no, this is actually pretty much what would happen. There was definitely some bits that could have been, I think, tidier around there. Like
I also feel like
basically,
the end was kind of barely. Like, I can't even really tell you where in particular, but I just feel like towards the end, it definitely seemed a bit more rushed.
right?
Because I don't
No,
know why, but this game didn't feel that long. It was
because it
probably as long as
wasn't.
any other game. But like a normal, really good VN's like 40 hours, right? So,
It was a little shorter than that. I think. I think officially it's somewhere around 30ish
okay.
for it. But the thing is, it doesn't have any diversions or significant side routes. You know, basically we did
That's
it.
that's what that's it. I
That's what
really
you're
don't like
missing.
that it doesn't have side routes. I love side routes so much.
Yeah,
Character endings, I love that shit so
and
much,
again,
and I didn't get
it
that.
doesn't have them because it just has
Yeah.
this. I think the story and the plot is sourced is tight enough. You don't have it, and they don't do a robotics notes on you where they sort of shoehorn in routes when actually it doesn't, because it's got the same story structure as robotics notes, but they went, oh, that's stupid. Let's put another mechanic that's at times very much half baked, but we're gonna put it there. Definitely better than a robotics note system, mind.
Oh, the Uruo thing?
No, the issue wasn't with either. It was like, why did that route have specific endings? Basically, why could you play robotics note in the wrong order?
Oh, I
Whereas with
see.
this, obviously,
Yeah.
you can't. So this is far better system in that it doesn't ruin the
Yeah.
story if you actually
Like we
play it as
we could have
intended.
get the true end out of the gate. There's nothing stopping us,
Yeah, and that would be perfectly fine.
which is completely fair.
It's
I actually
but
kind of like that, honestly, but
yeah, and it doesn't ruin the story to do so, right?
no.
Whereas in robotics notes, like, which is slight distraction, but you can do everything right there and read that whole story out of order, right? Which is dumb. So at least they didn't do that when they had another linear story. I No, I really like that. I'm not is it in terms of where I'll put it in comparison to the other entries in the series. I don't know, but it's going to be pretty high. Yeah, because from a story point of view, yeah, I thought it was really good. The only probably criticism is on that side, as you say, the ending does feel a little. I don't know. It's simultaneously rushed, but
Like
also
I'm not.
not as tight as it could have been.
The only thing I can think of is that it jumped the shark a bit, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that really is correct. That's the only thing I can think of to describe it.
hmm
And again, it reined it back in and ended up fine.
Yeah. I think that was quite clever, actually, how it did it. And I really like, those extra loads they put in to show how
Mm-hmm.
you get there. And I think that was actually a very clever way of doing it like that.
Yeah.
Because it keeps quite a good tight pacing if you just power through it and go straight for the end. But if you're basically like us, who immediately go, hold up, why the fuck didn't the world just end anyway? It's very good. So I think, yeah, they did a lot of quite clever things with it. And yeah, on the whole, I think they nailed it. That's
Eh,
I think that's
I,
kind of the problem. You can't you can't fully put your finger on what's slightly off.
I mean, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I just feel like it just didn't give enough to the characters.
Hmm.
And I know I like characters, right? That's my thing. But
Yeah, but
other than
that's
Pollon and Momo, I mean,
mhm.
every other character felt like side.
Well, that's it. Yeah.
And like, I don't know, man. I just wanted character endings. I just like character endings too much.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that's it. I think that's kind of what's lacking it in its depth. 'Cause at the end of the day, it doesn't exactly have a huge cast either. But
No.
yeah, as I say, none of them are. We don't. None of them are showed as deeply as these two. Like they're like head and shoulders far above the others, which is always going to happen in any story anyway. You've got your main characters and your focus of the story for a reason. But yeah, I think it's because this is probably one of the most focused games, in that sense, in the
Yeah,
series.
story wise, I can't really complain that much.
Hmm.
I won't really. It is concise. It did very well. Got everything you needed to. It was good.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this is kind of a bad example because I've been fucking doting on them the whole goddamn game.
Hmm.
But it does kind of fit my point. Is that the Cyberforce dolls, right?
Yeah.
Specifically, Bombi. You see her everywhere. She's like, it really makes it seem like she's gonna be a really, really, really big deal and a super important character, and she's just not. you know?
Yeah, but at the same time, then characters who actually are a bit of a big deal, you kind of feel a bit lacking, right?
You're like, okay, cool. Kent's here now. You kind of built him up over the whole game, but like,
I don't. I think that's
he
actually another
didn't.
bad example, actually, because he's actually one of the better ones. I would think Oz, right?
I actually thought Oz was pretty decent.
No, Oz is pretty decently done, but in terms of
Yeah.
wanting more, like basically we got one like scene which connected to another scene hours later, and from his character point of view, that's kind of it. And it's never addressed later how in any other worlds that conflict gets dealt with. And it's also the fact that his inner conflict is somewhat dealt with through the assistance of Caro, who's just magically just deals with it. And he just fixes shit. It just happens. Don't worry about it. Caro appears and problems are solved. Sort of thing. I think that's it. It kind of feels a bit too much like if a character has a problem, another character will miraculously appear and just do what they always do, and that solves the problem. You know? If anything, your example of Bombi shows a rare case of a character having to actually grow as a character to progress the story. In the in the scene where she shoots David, right? That was a change in her character. She's had to learn and progress and develop, right, to
That
make
got
that
undone.
action.
That got undone.
That's not the point. The point is she had to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The point is that there isn't actually a whole lot of that outside of the actions of Momo and Pollon, obviously.
Some other things to think about too, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know anything about Cross.
Yeah.
We actually don't really know Cross or Wind, for that matter.
No, and again, to my point, do they do anything different at the end of the game than they do at the start of the game? Nope, not really.
No.
They always do what they always do, right?
Yeah. I mean,
They're not,
Yomi was just comic relief, which after, like, what, chapter 4, whenever last time we saw her was?
yeah.
Haven't seen her again. Never got mentioned.
Yeah, which is, I mean,
The,
to be honest, is kind of fine. Like,
the two other friends of theirs, the
oh yeah,
bike
they're on the
repair
same
guy
level
and the other one,
as Yomi.
like, and the one dude got like maybe one line
Yeah.
when he came to the idol show,
Oh no, he gave Pollon
and that's
shit
it.
at the first elopement scene, but that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was it. There was like 2 scenes they appeared in.
Dub got the same 2 scenes plus the one where he told him to get money,
Yeah.
and then we didn't see him again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not too fussed about them being like that, but given the lack of everything else, it kind of stands out even more. Then, you know, from that perspective.
Like, I was jokingly saying I want more cyber dolls the whole game. Because I thought we'd get more at some point, but we didn't.
Nope.
And that's why that kind of makes me upset. Because I wanted more cyber dolls.
Yeah, but the thing is, it goes beyond what we're just saying as a joke. We're using them as an example for a joke, but that could kind of apply to anyone else, really.
I think there's a little bit more they could have done with Ewan, too.
Definitely. Yeah.
Felino, basically every character you could be like, yeah, you could have done more with them, except for Pola and Momo.
Yeah. Who got their full story, which is great.
Asuma, I think Asuma was good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was annoying, but that was the point.
Exactly. Which I think is, yeah, that's kind of how it works. He's exactly what he needs to be.
I thought Oz was pretty good. I mean, you may want a little more, but I thought he was all right.
I think there was more potential there that kind of went unused, and I know it kind of felt like there was no stakes to his conflict, but whatever. Oh yeah, aside from that, yeah, he's definitely one of the better ones.
And so that's 4. How many other characters would you say are good? Don't need anymore. I can't think of any more.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think we're even stretching it to get that. You know,
like there's plenty they could do with the Cyberforce dolls. All 3 of them like.
Doesn't he mention them individually?
There's them individually, because Rico and Inoha got jack shit. Come on. Bombi got a little more.
Yeah, Bombi actually has a story. The other 2 were kind of just there. Just like they appeared out of somewhere and wear a hat.
Yeah.
That's kind of their...
Like, Bombi, they started something, but didn't continue it at all.
But the thing is, they wrapped it up, and...
I don't think they did. I think there's so much more there.
I would agree with that. But they kind of wrapped it up before going, oh, okay, that's it. Okay, sure,
yeah,
fine.
And Rico and Inoha got jack shit.
Oh yeah, they're just there.
We made better narratives than they did.
Yes. Yeah. You know, Rico's backstory as a microwave wrestler has more depth than they actually put into the game.
That's actually, there you go. See, like, we made narratives for like every character in this fucking game, right?
Yeah.
And that's more than what they did for a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of sad.
Yeah. And
there's so much. Okay, sorry, but there's so much more they can do with Juno too. There's a lot there.
I mean,
other than just being a crazy bitch.
Well, the thing is, that's sort of an example in point of they kind of, because they didn't have, I don't know, the room or inclination to do anything more. She ended up being such a 2D character. It's unbelievable, you know. For someone that was set up to be far more interesting than she actually turned out to be. Because she wasn't.
That's the aspect where I feel it was actually rushed, is in terms of the characters.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, that makes sense actually.
I think the plot itself was so streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
To the benefit,
that's what they worked on the
benefit of the plot.
Yes.
It streamlined out it streamlined out most of the characters. As I say, we only got like 4 at best, who you could say had a conclusive story to them.
Mm-hmm.
If they had enough to have a story in the first place. Because you could say with some of these characters, well, they didn't have a story, but that's because there's actually so little of a character there, when you get down to it, that there is nothing to work off, because there was nothing there to start with. And which makes it jarring then on the few characters where you could say, you could see where there is something. And they kind of just concluded it up in like 5 minutes, and you're like, oh, okay, that's the answer, I guess. So I think
there's a lot they could have done with Rosario too.
Well, again, Rosario is a character they actually bothered to give some bit of a story to.
She had a bit more, but
it's like, cool. I guess that's why you're here. I don't know. Like, it should have been a lot more satisfying in that load, where she just kicks the shit out of Arcana. Like that is the the summing up of her, like, that's the closing of her story arc. She's done it. She's completed her story. and I kind of got lost in everything else that was going on a bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we didn't end up with 5 minute scenes that actually take 3 hours to read through. So it's a bit of pick your poison. You could either
That's
have
an
a,
interesting thing, really. Like,
you know,
that's an interesting thing to think about. Is Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, because in addressing the common criticisms of VN stories, in
Mm-hmm.
that they write too much, there's far too much detail. They take 6
I,
hours to
s-
go through a scene that actually took 10 minutes in story time and
I
feels a bit
see why.
ridiculous.
I see why a lot of people really like this game.
Yeah,
At least from the English speaker's perspective, because first off, the dub that helped,
yeah. But
and second, yeah, it's not really it's a different from most
to be
VNs.
honest, I don't even think that's as much a language barrier thing. But maybe
No,
I don't know what the average Japanese VN reader is looking for. But yeah, from my perspective, I actually kind of appreciate this. That okay, it leaves a bit of a. It may feel a bit shallow at the end when you look back on it from a character perspective. As I say, you had a whole actually in there. There is a whole story arc of with Rosario. But I say it kind of got overshadowed because it's like, oh, okay, she kicked the shit out of her, kind of move on, don't think about it, you know. Um, but that's but for the sake of the overall game, you could argue that was a better choice to make. It was like, no, we're not going to dwell on, we're not going to insert a 15-minute scene in the middle of this scene to emphasize and to show adequately the significance of Rosario's actions there. Because, okay, two people might like that, but for most people, they're like, what the fuck is this pacing? So I think we sacrificed the characters for a better paced game, in a way.
I think this game has. I think it's earned and it deserves, and it honestly kind of needs another thing for the
Yes.
characters. It really does. As
Hmm.
soon as that happens, I think I'll be all for it. Once it's all the characters are complete, then I'll be completely for everything about it.
I think, in a way, this is currently leaving me a similar feeling to the original Chaos Head, in that sense.
Kind of. Okay, so I was actually thinking of that too, right? This is different from other science adventure games too. Because let's just go through them. Chaos Head, pretty damn good characters. Story gets really wonky and meddly and messy at points, right?
Yeah.
But you still like it because the characters are cool.
Hmm. Yeah.
Then Steins Gate, I feel like is the only one that got both aspects perfect.
Yes. But it
Characters
probably
are all
it.
fucking great,
But,
and the story is fantastic.
but if anything, to my point, it probably sacrificed some elements of the storytelling to be able to maintain the characters. I would still say, yeah, overall, the end result is excellent. But if you had to nitpick at it, that would be your criticism. What was the number one criticism of the game of Steins Gate is, Jesus Christ, we spent 4 hours before the game actually fucking started. You know? But the characters pull you through that, and obviously
Yeah, like I've
it
never had a problem
works.
with it. So
No, yeah. I say it's mainly nitpicking. It
but
works
yeah,
overall. Overall it works in
but,
Steins Gate. But if you were to nitpick, that would be your nitpick, right? Wouldn't it?
yeah, I guess.
Right. And then you get onto then
Okay, so
what
so
is no?
Steins Gate was the closest to getting the perfect balance of the
Yes.
great story and great characters at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Chaos Child, they did try, they wanted to do both again, and they did, but it took them so long to do it, and
Right.
that's why.
Again, the
And it's
nip
great if you sit through it, but a lot of people aren't gonna want to sit through it.
exactly. It's like I think they got the balance right there. There isn't really much in the way of wasted space there. The problem is it still took 60 hours to do it.
Yeah,
And
it just took longer than Steins Gate even. So
and to be honest, you end up at the end kind of not really with a conclusive. You haven't felt you conclusively got the end of all of it.
hmm.
I mean, what they give you is enough to still hit you like a ton of bricks anyway.
Oh yeah,
Um,
and
but
even the side endings though. God damn it,
well,
this
that's
game doesn't have side endings. God.
yeah,
Oh god, I wish this game had side endings. Why doesn't have side endings?
right.
Okay, but yeah, Chaos
Well,
Child also great fucking story, great characters. It just takes too long.
yeah, the 60-hour game
Uh,
compared to anything anyone else would want to sit through, right?
but if you're nerds like us, you don't care.
Yeah, so you think it's great.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird one.
Right?
Then robotics notes. Same thing as Chaos had. Great characters, but the story's kind of rough at points.
Yeah, you're being pulled through by that.
Yes.
And probably the worst actual game system in any of these series.
Yeah, it's yeah. And then
Just ignore it. Don't worry about
yeah.
it.
And this is the first game where the story is fantastic,
hmm
but the characters are mid.
Yeah,
Which
outside of
says a
the
lot
two.
actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got two.
This is
You got two excellent characters that are pulling the whole thing together, and the rest are just like, yeah, they're there, I guess. They're there to facilitate these two, basically.
and I can it's weird too because we know science adventure games. We played basically fucking all of them.
Oh, yeah, we've played all the translate ones now.
Yeah. We played all the official ones. And I think you and I can tell that they wanted to do more with the characters here.
They've let us build
Like
the basis for it.
they set up these characters as well as they have any other ones.
Yeah. I think it's just that the story just didn't happen to lean to that. Or they
this
made a
game
conscious choice to edit it as such.
This game needs a love choo choo type game. I feel like it actually needs it.
Like, we joke about it, and it
Well-
doesn't. I don't think it even necessarily needs to be.
With like no, it doesn't need to be love choo choo. I'm just saying that type of game.
Yeah, it needs the follow up game.
Like
Or something.
okay,
Or even at
Chaos
like
Head
a Noah or Elite version, like they did with Robotics Notes and Chaos Head. It could be incorporated in that sort of a format.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
not sure what rewrite you do to make that happen, but that's another possibility, because that's pretty much what they did with Chaos Head. As I say, this feels like what the original Chaos Head felt like. But then
Like,
they
okay,
made
wait.
Noah,
God.
and it kind of addressed the issues.
Yeah, Noah basically fixed the game. It made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, we haven't played the original Robotics Note, so I can't make a direct comparison there, but
I've never even seen a screenshot from it. It's so hard to find anything about it.
yeah, but that's just how completely changed they did it to an extent. Other than the overall main plot, I think the story is pretty much as is, but they just did it so much better. Everyone kind of even forgets that there was a version of Robotics Notes before Robotics Notes Elite.
Chaos Head Love Choo Choo definitely doesn't need to exist, but everybody's glad it does.
Mm-hmm.
Steins Gate, My Darling's Embrace really didn't need to exist, but everybody's really happy it does because it's fucking awesome.
Well, you got that. But on the science side, you also got Phanogram, fills in
Pentagram,
tons of graph,
equally
and
equally as unneeded, but also
no, and you're
freaking
missing it because it is basically considered a mainline entry. You've got Zero. Zero was entirely made kind of filling a gap that we didn't even really know was a gap. You know, like the original Science Gate story is like this. You would come away thinking, okay, that's a complete story, and then they fill out a complete other story that just perfectly complements the first one in the form of Zero. Right? That's what we're missing here.
Yeah, and kind of connecting Zero back to what we were talking about before. Again, fantastic characters because they have the same from Steins Gate, but also all the new ones. Well, most of the new ones they add are great.
Yeah.
Most of the ones that you want to care about are great. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, but
it leans more towards the too long thing.
Oh yeah, because like when you put Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero together, yeah, that's way too long. But
No, I meant in of itself, but yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's not made in that sense.
Yeah.
That's not like anyone who cares about Steins Gate Zero already cares, so they're in for the ride.
But
and I think
anyway,
that's probably where this is going to go. Is that anomalous code is kind of this is to use some, because I can't think of a better way of phrasing it. This is for the masses to go, oh, that's cool. And then you follow up with anomalous code Zero, Noah, whatever the hell they come up and call it, which fills in for the people who get hooked on it and go, okay, I kind of want more.
Your sentiment's right. I'll just finish my thought from earlier. Is that
Mhm.
Chaos Child Love Choo Choo doesn't need to exist. Everybody's glad it does.
Yeah.
Robotics Notes Dash doesn't need to exist. Some people hate it.
Well, a lot of people hate it, actually, and we're one of the few people who don't.
I don't think it's that bad. Come on.
I don't.
People need
I said I don't. I
I
completely
know.
agree with
I know.
you.
I'm talking to people who may hear this, but
They don't give a shit.
there's nothing. Dash isn't great, but it's fine. It doesn't need to. It doesn't ruin anything. I don't know, man. People need to calm the fuck down on it.
Look, they're
And
getting
then,
mad on the internet. They're never calming down.
but it doesn't need to exist. I will agree with that. But I don't mind that it does.
No.
But the point is that all of the extra character fun games don't need to exist. This is the first time I feel like it actually kind of does.
Yeah. Well, it's as I. It's just like Chaos said. It needs the filling out either through another version or a follow-up game or something, and then you'll think,
Which,
okay,
if
now
they
it all
do
comes
that, then
together.
cool. Which, if
I
they
really
do
hope
that,
they
then
do.
cool.
Yeah.
I hope they do too.
Because from a story point of
it
view, what
just
they've built up here is
feels.
brilliant.
I feel like they've completed the story.
Yeah.
I have no complaints about the story.
Mhm.
It needs to finish out the characters.
Yeah. And they've built up a very interesting world that is, while linked to the rest of the series, its own distinct thing. Yeah, I would love to see them do more with it.
Yes. I want more Cyberforce dolls.
Of course.
Give us some choo-choo, you cowards. See you next time.